welcome to a mill equipment tutorial about the Cressington Sputter coater. To prepare your sample, load your given sample on a piece of black carbon tape as seen below the sample. Put your sample on top, which in this case is an orange piece of plastic, and just put this all on top of the sample mount, which is being held by these specially designed tweezers to hold these sample mounts. This particular mount will then be put inside the sputter chamber and then be prepared for sputtering. To load your sample, simply take your sample, which is loaded inside this sample stub, and place it into the top of the sputter chamber. It should easily fit inside this pre-made slots inside the sputter chamber. If your sample is larger, it's not a major concern if it doesn't. You just may get a more intense deposition of your sample if it rests higher than the standard sample mount. To begin your sputtering process, the first thing you're going to need to do is to turn on the sputter chamber. First, just hit the power button. Nothing all that interesting should happen. You should just see some lights turn on, and go ahead and close the chamber down. You're going to want to make sure that the top of the chamber is securely fastened on the top. If it's not perfect at this point, that's fine. When we start to pull vacuum on that chamber, that'll quickly be fixed. Everything on the screen right now is perfectly simple and set. Quick breakdown of what each of these different buttons means. This button allows you to toggle between your current and your pressure, so milliamps and millibars. The default is for the gauge speed reading in millibars. The test feature, which we will use later, allows you to test whether or not your sputtering parameters will successfully produce a plasma. The set will allow you to pump in argon gas at your leisure and at appropriate amounts prerequisite for sputtering. The start will start the sputtering process, which is directly tied to the timer. Once your timer shuts off, the sputtering process will conclude. The pause button, once that's pressed and held down, you can vary the time by hitting the set buttons. And I'm going to go ahead and leave this at 50 seconds for the sake of this demonstration. Now that we've gone through all the controls on the sputter chamber itself, which will all be used later in this process, let's go ahead and turn on the pump. If you hear some slight squeaking from the chamber, you'll want to make some slight adjustments to the top, and you should hear the vacuum get pulled, and you should see the pressure gauge dramatically drop. Now that we've pumped down the chamber to lower than 0.05 of a millibar, we're now ready to pump some argon into the system and let the argon flush through the system for about 10 seconds. To begin to introduce the argon into the system, let's go ahead and use this set dial. To begin the argon flowing process, we're going to turn this dial to the left. It takes a little bit of work to get the dial loose, but once it does, just keep spinning it counterclockwise until you see the pressure increase as the result of argon flowing into the chamber. Once you see the pressure begin to increase, slow down the opening process and wait until you get to about 0.4 millibars in pressure. It's approximately right here. Now that we're at 0.4 millibars, we'll simply let the argon inside the chamber flush throughout the chamber for about 10 seconds. Now that the argon has successfully flushed throughout the chamber, we are going to bring the pressure of argon in the chamber down to about 0.08 of a millibar. You'll bring down the pressure of the argon by turning the set dial in the clockwise direction until you reach your desired pressure. Now that we're successfully at our desired pressure, we'll go ahead and hit the test button to check to make sure that we have that our conditions are successful for producing a plasma. And sure enough, we are producing a plasma. So now that we've done our test, we can go ahead and start the sputtering process. and just do that by hitting the start button. You'll now see the switch change from millibars to milliamps, and your sputtering process is now underway, as indicated by the timer going down and by the plasma which has been successfully struck. The sputtering process has been complete, as indicated by the timer resetting and the gauge turning back to millibars, and by the plasma turning itself off. So now that our process is complete, we can go ahead and move towards the process of venting our chamber. To first do that, let's go ahead and turn off the argon gas. This will be done by turning the set valve all the way to the clockwise position until it's fully closed. Now that this is successfully closed, let's go ahead and turn off the pump. Simple enough as hitting the power button. And now that that's done, we can go ahead and vent the chamber simply by pulling up on this tab up here. You will start to hear gas flow back into the chamber. Also, for good measure, go ahead and turn off the chamber. Once the chamber is completely vented, you should be able to lightly pull up on the chamber. And your sample is successfully coated. As you can see, our sample went from being an orange color to being a metallic gold color. This is the result of a atomically thin layer of golds being present on our sample, which now makes it conductive and perfect for SEM imaging or some sort of EDS style analysis.